with your questions, and then I'll dive into an overall overview of the store. The first one, you have to manually hit fulfill when a product is ordered. Can it be automated? It all depends on how your products are being fulfilled, right? So right now, I'm guessing you're drop shipping these from a print-on-demand provider. You have to see what their integration allows. That's a question I would ask them, because I assume that's how this is working, as opposed to, if you have these in stock and you're shipping them out, then you want to, your fulfillment team, when they ship it out, is going to mark it as fulfilled kind of thing. But there are fulfillment settings. Let me just drop into a store here and go into checkout settings. They always move these around, so I always have a hard time knowing where they're at. Yeah, it's not there. There is one about fulfillment somewhere. But I think you're using a third party for fulfillment, is my guess, like a print on demand. So you're going to have to talk to them to see how they automate with Shopify. Because if that's the case, Shopify sending the order to them. When they fulfill it, they should be sending information back and telling Shopify, mark this as fulfilled. All right, next question you have is 3-page confirmation of the order, mostly in code. So let me show you that here. And it's probably because there's been a change recently that we'll probably see here. So we go to notifications under settings. And you see your customer notifications. And let's just go to the order confirmation. You probably have this same dialog here, right? They've changed their process. What you want to do is click on the edit code button. And you're not going to edit any of this code. All you're going to do is get down to the bottom and go revert to default. Click on that and then save it, and then it should work. Run another test order and see what it looks like. Then you should be good to go. Now, your next question is, let's go to your hats or shirts. What can you do to order these in what order they show up in, which I totally like, you controlling the way they show up. You see right now this collection is sorted by price, high to low. So there's the high, next one down, and then the lowest price product. So the way you do that is, there's two things here. One is you can change the default sort order for a collection. So if you go into collections in the admin, and we're just going to pick on one of these in my client store. Collections, right? We'll pick one with 12 products. And you'll see that we can have a default sort order of best selling, alpha, A to Z, alpha, Z to A, price, highest to lowest, lowest to highest, newest and oldest when they add it to the store, and then manually. So if you want to manually control it, you can click on manually, right? And you'll see you get this little 6 dots thing. You can take a product and move it up or move it down. I'm going to put that back to best selling. So you can control which of those algorithmic sorts it does, or you can make it manual where you're in total control. Now, those are your questions. So let's dig into your store a little bit and give you some feedback. I remember when we built this store a while ago, I like, the branding and the simplicity of it. So let's start off on your homepage. I love this video and I hate it at the same time. And I'll explain what I mean by that. So what I love here is worn by players, respected by legends, right? It's really simple. The authentic poker brand, unified and trademarked. I don't know if trademark's important. I don't know what unified means. I don't know if your customers do. If you just kept this, the authentic poker brand, that would probably be enough, because you want to set the context. It's for poker. So what I love about this video is this text above it is really succinct and to the point. Get this funky thing going on with this header. You can see it. I can't repeat it, but it does some funky stuff. So I like this, stake in the ground you're putting. I call it a "You Are Here" sign. Like, this is what we are. This is who we're for, right? But what I don't like is this video. I like the video because it sets the context of poker and poker tournaments. But I don't see any players wearing your brand, and I don't see any legends respecting it, right? So this could just be a stock, video, nothing focused on your brand. I would much prefer to see your brand being worn and respected in an image or a video here than just this stock stuff going on. Now, the brand is good. You don't need the registered trademark in your logo, so I would recommend removing that. But that's just I always find those kind of amateurish, right? I love the nav being so simplified, right? Shirts, hats, hoodies, shoes, accessories, all products. Now, I will raise a question. It's my tactful way of saying I think this is silly. Has anybody ever bought these? Will anybody ever buy these? And don't get me wrong, I have worn these for my little. I coached roller derby, a kids roller derby team, and I had our logo on these high tops. They were very uncomfortable for my foot size. But in your brand, it's one of those. Just because you have the technical capability to do something, doesn't mean you should actually do it. In my humble opinion. What are your accessories? So you might want to just call that, drinkware or a mug or something like that. So it's more descriptive on what it is, since there's only one in there. And because there's only one, you can take them straight to the product page in that case, right? Hoodies. Hats. I'm just looking at your products, and then we're going to talk about your collection pages. Shirts. I hate AI photos. Like that looks more real to me. That looks totally AI. We actually did for one brand a really cool AI thing where we had like 275 different types of animals that this product was good for. And we made AI generated images for all these animals, and the community went ballistic. They were so offended, kind of thing. AI photos, not, especially when you can tell that they're AI photos, not the best thing to do today, right? Or get the AI photos that you can't tell they're AI photos. I like people in photos, right? The more real you can make things and authentic, and like putting people in products, even if it's this photo probably comes from Printify, wherever you're getting it printed from, right? Because here, here's the problem with these photos, the real ones, is they're not in the poker scene, right? So, going back to why I like this image so much, but also didn't like it, was it's completely context, accurate, where you're at a poker tournament. But then when I go to shirts, I got surfer chick down here, right? So when you get photography, when you make your own photography, you're going to want to put it in the right context, kind of thing. But we're just looking at your products. What I was saying is I like the top nav being focused on sell, sell, sell. Now this one is sorted by best selling. If this is your number 2 selling product, I am absolutely shocked. And if this is your number 6, I'm absolutely shocked. And if that's the case, then I'm wrong about. Well, it also depends how many products you've sold, right? If you only sold one of everything and it's all test orders, then it doesn't matter. But if they're actually selling, let's say you're selling 100 products a week, and you're selling 10 of these, then you should totally have them on your website. I would just be surprised if that's the case. But if it is the case, fantastic for you. Now on videos, what is the purpose of these, right? What I like to do up here in the header is just keep people focused on shopping. And what I see this as, I'm going to call this a podcast, right, for lack of a better term. This one's 5 minutes, 57 seconds. I can't see that one. Let's click on one. Four minutes, 26 seconds. All right, horrible. I am 9 seconds in and the video hasn't started to catch my attention yet. And that bell audio was miserable. It was painful to listen to, right? 13 seconds in, I still don't know what this video is about.
Hello there, this is Morgan again with another episode of Quest for the Cup 19. Anyway, we're...
All right, this is an episode of Quest for the Cup 19, but it doesn't tell me that anywhere in here. So I assume you're going to interview this guy. Let's see if I can see what he's saying here.
You know, and I was there for 4 years, and...
Okay, so this sounds like it's about poker and poker tournaments, right? Which is fine, you know, but to me, that's not worthy of being in the top nav, right? What you could do is move it down to the footer. I just want to see this here. And also put a little bit of a context to your videos. So I would have a description of, hey, you know, this is a series that Morgan did back in 2019 where he interviewed all the people that are in charge of the operations about poker tournaments. So you get a behind-the-scenes look and feel, or whatever the right thing to say is, right? I'm just making this up. But I would set some context there for people so they understand what it is they're going to be watching without having to open up that video and listen for a few minutes to figure it out, right? Help them understand and move that to the footer. And it already is in the footer, so I would just remove it from the header because it actually has nothing to do with your products and that quick little thing that I saw. So it's more just giving you authenticity in the poker realm. You're going out to these tournaments, you're talking to these people, you're involved, all that good stuff. So it's good street cred, but it's not shopping, it's not selling, so I wouldn't include it up at the top. Now, let's talk about this page here. All right, so, you know, just a total nitpick here, right? But with a nod to the vintage charm of Sinatra and his crew, our polos add a touch of sophistication to any poker night. That's a polo, that's a polo, that is not a polo, that is not a polo, that is not a polo. So that type of description should be at the product level, not at the collection level. And I guess that's a sweatshirt. The hoodies are actual hoodies. Yeah, it's just a small thing to think about. Do you put... you know, the hoodie, do you put that sweatshirt under hoodies or not kind of thing? And, you know, because it's not a t-shirt. I guess it's a sweatshirt. But I like the, you know, really clean and simple, boom, boom, boom. Now, what is the difference between this and this? So I see official embroidered RiverCard polo white, official embroidered RiverCard polo black. So I'm assuming it's just the color. So why aren't those two combined into one product, right? So here... I have one product option of size, and you have the one that says white. You could have the black right there because that would simplify this decision making, right? So let's look at this one here. Official trademark RiverCard heavy T-shirt. Official trademark RiverCard T-shirt. Like I don't know the difference between a heavy T-shirt and a T-shirt, because it looked like the way it was leading me to think here. I always thought this was like the men's tee and this was the woman's tee because that's what the images. So the images aren't lining up with the differences between the products, right? The point of this page is to explain the differences. So if you had one product that was polo, one that was tees, and maybe you need two different ones, I'll look at those in a second. One that was sweatshirt, you're decreasing the number of choices here. So right now when I choose this, I may not realize it, but I'm actually making two choices. One is I want the polo. The second is I want it in black, right? And if you wanted to keep them as separate products, or they need to be for whatever reason with your print-on-demand provider, then what you could also do is, instead of it saying official embroidered RiverCard polo, right? the word official doesn't help here. Embroidered does. RiverCard, everything is RiverCard. So embroidered polo black, embroidered polo white. And maybe even start with the word black and white. Black embroidered polo. Black or in white embroidered polo. Or black polo and white polo. And then when they pick on the polo, they can learn about the fact that it's embroidered, not printed, and those kind of things. But what you want to do on this page is highlight the differences between the products. And that's not as, and when you have so many of the same words, right? Official embroidered RiverCard polo is the same here and here. I had to read this twice to realize, on the second line is the difference between those. One is black and one is white. So this page you can make, it's already pretty simple, right? Just 5 choices. You can even simplify that a little bit more. And like this one has a lifestyle image to start. This one has a white background, right? This one has a white background with a human. This one has a white background with just a T-shirt. So there's a lack of consistency in them. So I get distracted by the differences in the photos because they're also not calling out the differences in the product, right? This one's an AI fake background, and the hover thing is killing me there, right? And this one, is looks like a real person kind of thing. Probably still not your own photo, but whatever. Where this one has a transparent or a white background, and this one doesn't. So the inconsistency in the photos, just in the way they're presented, makes it harder to understand the differences. And when things change on hover, like hover sounds like a good idea, but then like I'm looking at this image, so I hover over it, but then it changes the image, right? So I'm not a fan of hovering, and hover only works on desktops anyways, which most of your people are not. But hopefully that makes sense. Now if we look at hats, we've got just 2 hats, white and black. So the hat could go straight to the hat products, combine them into one hat, and make the color choice a choice they make there. Hoodies, once again, these two could be combined. So then you got, so then what is the difference between the RiverCard Champion and the official RiverCard Poker hoodies, right? Maybe that's explained in the next level down. I'll look at that here in a second. But like this one is full zip, this one is not. Is that the difference? Is it really the fact that this one's made by Champion, or is it full zip versus pullover, right? So, you could have 2 products here. Full zip hoodie, pullover hoodie. And the full zip could have, the 2 white and blacks in the one product. Now let's see the pullover and see if we actually explain that it's a pullover. So it says zipless, not pullover, but maybe I'm nitpicking there. So it says it's built for champions. Where did it say that? Built for champions. So I thought it was made by Champion, the manufacturer, right? But why is this one built for champions and this one see, this one doesn't talk about being built for champions. So like it's just one of those things. Sometimes we make things more confusing than they have to be, right? I don't understand why you call this one the Champion hoodie, and maybe you have a good reason. It's not explained, right? But by calling this the zipless instead of the pullover, to me pullover is a much more common term. All you have to do is click on hoodies, pullover, zip, right? Easy decisions to make without confusing people with this other information in there. And then you can put the other information in if you have a good story behind it. Like, it really isn't clear to me why that's the Champion one and other things are not, right? Oh, and it's the American Heritage brand. Oh, it is Champion. Yeah, maybe you're just doing a plan where it looks like it's made by Champion, so it's for champions, and that's just being too cutesy. And then there's a lot of specs in here. Nobody gives a damn about those things. You know, you got to do things like this here. People can see the pockets. Um, Too often, people, and what I liked is, you know, you started talking about the design, the product, right? Who's going to wear it and why they're going to wear it. Most people don't do that in the beginning, so that was nicely done. This other stuff isn't as important, and you can just drop those into these accordions down here, which aren't being used, as you can see. Um, and then, you know, we've got, just because you have all these different images doesn't mean you have to use them, right? So, and this one here, you do have the black and white. So you did combine it here. I didn't notice that. That's cool. And sometimes, depending on your theme, you can actually show the fact it comes in two colors with color swatches on the collection page. But just, you know, you don't have to have the same photos in every single color, right? Like this back photo is kind of useless. And, you know, once you show one photo of someone wearing it, do you really need to have more of it, right? You know, having a man and a woman makes sense to me. But the other ones, just over and over again, not so much. Not that there's a ton of them here, but you could reduce the number of photos here. So let's just look at this black one. We got 1, 2, 3, 4 different people wearing the same hoodie in slightly different poses, but not much. But it's not like one person's short and one person's tall and one person thin and one person not kind of thing. It's just 4, you know, all decently fit people kind of thing. So it's not helping me understand, right? It's just photos for the sake of gratuitous photos. And then I'm not a fan of "you may also like" on the product page, because, you know, the person said, "Hey, I want a pullover hoodie. Let's just show them pullover hoodies. You only got one. Let's just show them that one and hide this, you know, cross merchandising stuff that confuses people." I like the shipping and exchanges stuff on the product page. It'd be nice if we had some sort of filters or some way to help people on this page. Not that there's a ton of products, but, you know, when it comes back to that, you know, sorting things manually, like I was showing you before, you could, you know, make this collection sorted manually and put them in an order that makes sense, and I would have that order follow this order. I would show shirts at the top, then hats, then hoodies, then shoes, then accessories. And that's a nice way for them to, you know, even though they can see all those things here, they can reinforce that they have seen the full product catalog if they want to. Now let's add a product. Let me just go back here. Yeah, sometimes if your theme doesn't allow you to show color swatches down here, something I do in that case, let me just go to Emerson and show you. Is under our accessories and clips, we've got 3 of these long clips that'll show up here in a second. Did I not click it properly? Let's refresh our page. So we got these 3 long clips, right? And then we got pocket clips and a whole bunch of different designs. And just the other day, we just had one of these images and just this image on the collection page. So what we did was made this composite image, right, that shows, hey, if you want this, you got 3 different brand or logo options, as you can see here. And on this one, there's actually so many, you know, graphics options. We didn't show them all here, but we showed the fact there's a bunch, right? And you can pick whichever one you like and put it up there, kind of thing. So what we did at the collection level is emphasize choice by making a composite image, right? So what you could do here is, if you can't show color swatches in your theme, you could make a composite of a black, you know, polo and a red polo. Like I would slice it diagonally, just show one here and one here kind of thing, or overlay 2 of them side by side or something like that, so people know that, hey, this product has multiple colors underneath it, right? Because some places you are doing that, and other places you're not. So it's a way to be clearer for people. You know, let's just assume here I like red shirts, and I don't see any red here, right? And if I don't have a red swatch, if you make a composite that shows a black one and a red one, you know, slightly overlapped or something like that on a flat lay, then people could know that, oh, I'm going to have that choice further down when I click on that product. What I was going to do when I started that was add a product to the cart. I'm not a fan of the buy with shop pay on the product page because it makes your add to cart button just this, you know, not dominant thing. And I would love your add to cart button to be a nice bright red. So if you can, you know, in your theme, you can turn off this shop pay thing. And then when you add it to cart, you've got this cart layout going on, which is okay. Let's go view our cart. So featured collection. Why are you showing these to me, right? You know, just put a little bit of verbiage there, like, you know, popular add-ons or popular products or something like that. And I like to get rid of these buttons because they confuse people. That's a little bit of a code hack. And then if we go into checkout, so you've got this branded, that's good. Let's go into the normal guest checkout. You've got this branded. You've got colors going on. Yes, yeah, that's nice and bright red there. Makes it clear what I need to do. And you've got the one-page checkout, so that's all good. Now let's talk about your evergreen pages. You don't have a lot of them. You might want to throw an FAQ in at the least. You got videos already we talked about. So let's talk about the About Us. I love this section here. Right? Be bold, state your name, and then tell them nothing else. So obviously you want to, you know, fill this in. Some imagery would be great. I'd love to see an image of you playing poker or winning a tournament, holding up a trophy, whatever it is, kind of thing. But, you know, here what you're trying to do is, yeah, there's a defining official trademark poker brand. Like, do these terms, official trademark, matter to your customers? I assume not, but I could be wrong on that, right? So, you know, you started playing poker in Southern California about 37 years ago. I want to see a photo of young Morgan playing poker in Southern California back in, you know, 1991 or whatever that is. And then I want to see, like, you know, we grew as an apparel company. You shipping your first order, what your first, you know, product looked like. That happened back in 2008. That's a long time ago now, right? So show a photo of the brand when it wasn't as mature as it is now, back in the early days, right? And then I want to see, you know, a poker tournament going on. So, you know, you're telling a story here. You can, you know, take each sentence, make them a paragraph. Take each paragraph, put a photo behind it, right? That supports it. So you're showing a timeline thing. And then, you know, and you can show more than one photo of these different things, I think, pretty easily. And then, you know, you've got this in a little bit here, you know, a classy and sexy brand that personifies the game of poker. This doesn't show that here, right? So what you want to do is, you know, hopefully you have real photography of classy and sexy people who personify the game of poker, right? Wearing your brand. Because you want to show a little bit of that. If you don't have that photography, you need to go get that. Because, you know, you're stating things. By the way, you got a typo there with 2 spaces right here. You're stating this thing right here, but you're not proving it. And the way to prove it is with video and photos, Just like, you've got the videos of you talking to real people behind tournaments. That's giving you the street cred and validity, right? You're obviously, not, some developer in China or some manufacturer in China trying to roll out a crappy brand. You've got real roots in this industry, and you're showing that in the videos. You want to do that throughout, especially on your About page, because what happens a lot of times is people come here and they make the decision to buy the product, right? I want this product. Now, before they go to check out, their next decision is, who am I buying it from? And that's where they go here and they read about the brand and they're like, oh, I don't want to buy from some place that, has placeholder content up there, or, doesn't, tells this, really quick, simple story, but doesn't prove it to me kind of thing. But I'm a big believer in About pages, a big believer in About pages. So the more you can do here with photos and video, the better, right? And this is part of that, right? It's totally what I'm saying. You need more of that. And what I'm wondering here is, I'd rather see this here with people winning the trophy, right? I want to see someone holding the trophy up or excited. You want to add people to these things and real authentic people as much as you can in this experience. All right, so next, let's look at your video page. We talked about your contact page. Yeah, you need a little bit more there. What I like to do here is, say, hey, we're here for you. Let us know if you have any questions. A little text. I also like to put the social stuff up there. So you got a couple social links. You can put those on this page. I also like to put a map, right? And if you don't want to put your address, like you probably don't have a business address, you don't want to put your home address. That's fine, but you want to put your city. Right? So the way most themes do it is, let's just go here and see what we've got under our contact for Emerson. They're actually showing their warehouse address right here, but it shows the Google map, right, with their location. So with other people, what I do is I just would say Harbor City, California, instead of the actual address, if they didn't want to show their actual home address. I have one client in San Antonio, it just says San Antonio, Texas. And that way you're saying, hey, we're an American company, and the important part there is you're not a crappy Chinese company, right? So I like to put a map on, even if we're not showing an address, just to show, hey, we're an American company kind of thing. Shipping policy. Yeah, that's not as good. So let's go back to here. Click on this. So it says free shipping. I actually didn't read this. Pair text with an image to focus on your chosen product. So that you need to put in there, free shipping to continental United States for all orders, exclamation point or something like that, right? Because it's not free shipping to Russia, I assume, right? So you want to fill in this blank text or this placeholder text or the real text. And then you want your shipping policy to say the same thing, because here I don't see anything about free shipping. And then the next one is, we look at our refund policy. You don't want an AOL.com address, right? And in fact, it's not just AOL is bad enough, right? But you don't want a Gmail address either. What you want is a RiverCard.net email address. I don't know in this store what email address you're using to send email, but it better be RiverCard.net, right? You need to be professional. And also, you're worried about spam. If you send email out from this address or something other than your actual domain, you're going to get marked as spam a lot more quickly. So you want a Morgan at RiverCard.net email address, or for return it should be support at RiverCard.net, kind of thing. But you don't want it to be an AOL, a personal email address. But also here, I'm just reading this here. So do you have anything that's non-returnable? If you don't, then you don't need an exception, right? But once again, if I go back to one of your products and I look at the text down here, it says hassle-free exchanges. Now you need text down here that supports that. But what I want to see here under refund policy is hassle-free exchanges, right? Use the same terminology for consistency purposes, right? Your privacy policy. Yeah, see, this has not been edited. That's placeholder content from the Shopify template. And Shopify now updates this content dynamically for you, so just turn that feature on and you'll be fine. Let's look at your terms of service. Yeah, once again, the email address. All right, so what I don't see in this store is any sort of social proof. I don't see, and the social proof could be, photos of real people interacting in the real world with your brand. It could be a social feed, like an Instagram feed. Let's see what you got on Facebook, if any kind of content there. You can see my router has problems these days. I have to reboot it, I think. So here, last time you posted was on March 10th of this year, and all the post is RiverCard.net. So one piece of social proof is people, liking the brand, engaging with it, and all that kind of stuff. And then you posted the same thing twice this year, and then the post before that is from 3 years ago, kind of thing. So there's not a lot of confidence that I'm getting that this RiverCard brand that I'm thinking about buying from is actually got human beings at it who are going to process my order when I place it. Right? So if you're going to have a social presence, you want some content behind it. So that I feel like there's human beings at the company who are doing things, right? Now let's look at your YouTube channel. So it's the same videos we saw. You interviewed people, and now a way to think about switching this back out, right? Is and not there's anything wrong with this, but think about on your about page. What if someone interviewed you and asked you, "Hey, tell me about RiverCard. How'd you get started? This, that, and the other thing, right?" That'd be a nice little video to put here, and you could also put that on the home page, right? Because video tells such a compelling story, and it gives you that authenticity. And I literally believe that all e-commerce brands should be doing video in 2025. Yet less than 5% actually are, right? So it's a way to stand out and differentiate because everybody should be doing it, and not enough people are doing it right now. So we're talking about social proof, right? So your social networks, you got YouTube and Facebook, not a lot of content publishing going on your side. I don't see customer reviews. There's no feed from your social here on this page. I don't see photos that show people, real people in groups and at tournaments and all that kind of stuff wearing the brand. So and you've been around for enough years, there should be something there, right? Even if you have to, even if you don't have it yet, you got to fake it, because what I'm looking at is an empty room, right? There's very little on this page and this whole site that I couldn't build myself over a weekend with, you know, the assets and tools that you've built it with, kind of thing. And people can, you know, consciously or most likely subconsciously get a feel for that, right? Where when you go to a store, let's just go to Allbirds. I remember the last time I did this, it was amazing, right? So let's go to Allbirds and see what their homepage looks like. And these guys are one of the top Shopify stores in the world, right? I would not be surprised if that turns into a video here in a second. Yep, it's exactly what I thought it was going to be. So the last time I came here was a couple of years ago. They did a beach photo shoot with drones, with like 200 people running down the beach wearing Allbirds, right? You can't fake that. But that's also their product there, right? So I like the other one better because there's actually people wearing their products versus this how it's built type video going on here. I think we focus way too much on how it's built, not enough on how people use the products. But leave that as it may. But what they do is, they're doing their own photo shoots of people wearing their products, kind of thing. And Allbirds is a literally billion-dollar brand, so they have the money to do this. But the only way they got to be a billion-dollar brand was by doing these sorts of things, right? So you want your brand to feel authentic with the photography, and that's the bringing it to life thing, adding people and not just flat lays of products that are probably generated by a print-on-demand engine. So you got life here, but it's not authentic because your brand's not in it. And then nowhere else is there life throughout the store except for, like this AI image, also not life, right? And these, stock photos from the print-on-demand people like that one. So you need that level of authenticity. Like I said before, none of those are in a poker scene, right? He's at, some graffiti alleyway. She's at looks like a farmer's market or something with a pickup truck, and she's, surfing in Tahiti or something. So that's that life you have to bring to things. And this, I didn't notice this is a video. Let's see what this says.
I'm Rocky Osborne here at the RiverCard Cup Poker Tournament here at Pechanga Casino Hotel. Ready to play some poker. Let's get it on. So what's your strategy today?
All right, I love what's going on here, right? And I love that she's wearing RiverCard, but that's a product not available. But so this is exactly the stuff I was talking about. So you are doing it. We just got to figure out ways to do it some more.
Play tight.
Play tight.
It's a marathon, not a sprint.
The orange and blue, I thought maybe you were a Bears fan.
Oh, heavens, no.
Okay,
no.
Don't say it like that, sir.
No.
I'm a Bears fan.
Oh, that's too bad. I'm sorry to hear that.
Ladies and gentlemen, Richie Lopez.
Yeah, no, I like what you're doing here, right? Now, this is more about the tournament side of things, I think, than it is about the brand side of things and the apparel side of things. So take that same thought, right, that same effort, and how do you do something like that from the brand side, right? And I'm sure there's, a dozen ways to do it. And, you've already done it here, so it should, you know what you're doing there kind of thing. But that's what I mean when I say bring it to life. Add life to your website. It's that kind of stuff. Hopefully that all makes sense. So that's a pretty quick summary of your store because there's not a lot going on in your store. You're using the old login system. There's a new one now in Shopify that has some positives to it that you don't need yet, kind of thing. But I do think that not having product reviews is the biggest thing. That's the low-hanging fruit for you. Now, I assume you've sold enough products you can get reviews, Even if you haven't, you can see those reviews with some simulated reviews if you want to. But adding that social proof, and because here's the thing, nothing about your store makes me feel confidence that I'm not your first customer, right? I want to be your millionth customer, not your first. Nobody comes to a store and goes, oh, no one's ever bought here before. Let me be the first. So you want some way to show people that, this brand that you talk about being around since 2008, I think it was, the brand, right? That's a long time now. There should be lots and lots of sales. And if there isn't, you got to make it feel like there's lots and lots of sales. All right, that's my feedback for you. Let me know if you got any other questions on this. Thank you very much.